This evening, instead of our normal Dhamma talk, we'll have a Anagārika Ordination. Mike will be taking on the whites, so I'll invite you up to begin. Come closer.
Sambado garavaso rajopato abhogaso papaja naidam sukaram agaram aja vasata ekanta paripurnam ekanta parisuttam samkalikitam brahmacharyam charitum Yam nunaham ke samasum oharetoa kasayani vattani acharetoa anagariyam agarasama anagariyam papajeyam. The household life is cramped and dusty. The homeless life is free as air. It is not easy living the household life. To live the fully perfected holy life, purified and polished like a conch shell. Suppose I were to shave off my hair and beard, don the robes of a Buddhist monastic, and go forth from the household life into homelessness.
All right, so having made the request, then you can take these whites and go and put them on. Turn 90 degrees. So this is a good thing to witness. That's people requesting to come and live long-term in the monastery and take on the path of training as an Anagārika. We call Anagārika. In Thai we call pakau. Pakau just means white cloth. Anagārika means homeless one. So at first they're Gārika. Gārika means householder. And then taking that first step to leave the household life. And the Anagārikas, they follow the form of the white-robed renunciate householders in the time of the Buddha, who would still live the household life, but would wear white and would undertake the 8 precepts. So this is the same form as that. And they call the first gate, the first door to ordination. Many of the Anagārikas in the suttas were actually non-returners. They reached the 3rd stage of awakening, and there's even cases in the teachings of the suttas where Anagārika householders, or Anagārika or the white-robed householders, actually teach the monks, give teachings to the monks who haven't attained the same level of insight as they have. So it shows that there's the level of ordination or your standing as a layperson or as a monastic. It doesn't show how much wisdom you have. You can actually develop wisdom at any of those levels if you set your heart on the practice. So when if a householder would reach insight to the point of being a non-returner, then they would naturally follow the 8 precepts and live a very, very simple life. And there's like the famous names in the suttas, like Gatikara the potter, who he lived wearing white and lived the celibate life and made pottery only from mud and dirt that had been dug up by rats and various burrowing animals. So this was considered a very pure livelihood. And so just before full awakening is this stage of anagami, the non-returner. There's also Panchakanga, who actually was asked to give teachings to the bhikkhus, and then there's Chitta, the householder. So these are some of the famous names in the suttas of like non-returner lay people. And there's only actually a few cases of lay people becoming, or unordained people becoming arhants, but that also does happen in the suttas or in the teachings. One is Bahia of the bark cloth, who Lumpur Kun referenced in his talk at Yoga Samadhi in White Salmon, Washington. Bahia of the bark cloth actually attained arhantship upon hearing the Dhamma, but never took bhikkhu ordination. And also it's said that the Buddha's father, King Suddhodana, attained arhantship at the time of death. And of course he never ordained either. So it shows that anything is possible regardless of the form. So even though, say, Michael will still be living in the monastery, it's kind of 1 foot in the world, 1 foot in the monastery. He will formally request the 8 precepts.
Aham bante tisaranena sahata silani yachami dutiyampi aham bante tisaranena sahata silani yachami tatayampi aham bante tisaranena sahata silani yachami.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Bhutang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tutiyampi bhutang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatayampi bhutang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatayampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatayampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Ti saranakamana niditang.
Amma bante.
Panatipada veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adina dana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
Musawada veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura meraya maja pamadatana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Sura mera yamaja pamadatana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
Nacha gita varita visugadasana malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Nacha gita vadita vibhusanat visukadasana malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Ucha sayana mahasayana veramani sikaparang samadhiyami.
Ucha sayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Imani yata sikapadani samadhiyami.
Imaniyata sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imaniyata sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imaniyata sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Silena sugating yanti, silena boga sampada, silena nibuting yanti tasama silang visodaye.
Sadhu bante. Acharyo me.
Wait.
Oh.
You can bow 3 times, then sit and pump your hands against it. That's a little bit later. You can sit and puppy up. Give your toes a rest. sometimes in these ordinations we feel compassionate to the candidates and want to chant a little bit faster to give your toes a rest. Being on your toes for so long can be difficult. Now you're in your whites, you're ready to get into the ring, so to speak. And you now have your weapon, which is sila, the precepts. You can be firm in the precepts, the refuges in the precepts. And now that you've picked up this Dhamma weapon, then don't drop your weapon. Keep hold of it. And each precept is something that is to be trained in. These seem ordinary, but then when we keep them for a longer period of time, they become very powerful. So the refuges of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, there's the external Buddha who we can get inspired by. We do Buddha Nusati, which gives us faith and inspiration, confidence to practice. But then the internal refuge of Buddha is the awareness, of the sati sampajanya, that sense of mindfulness and clear comprehension in the moment that we can be cultivating and training in all the time. And then there's the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, which also give us confidence, and we try to follow them to the best of our ability. The various practices and reflections and contemplations that the Buddha taught about over his 45 years of teaching. And then the internal quality of Dhamma is the truth of the way things are in the moment. So that internal quality of Dhamma is to be known. And then there's the Sangha, which is the noble disciples of the Buddha down through history to the present time. That includes, it's not just monastics, but it includes householders and monastics who have attained to any of the 4 stages of awakening: Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahant. And this is the external refuges Sangha, and then the internal refuges Sangha is virtue, is the sila. So that's a noble quality of the Sangha, that they're firm in the, as it says in the suttas, the virtues dear to the noble ones. So those are the external and internal qualities of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Then there's the 8 precepts that you've undertaken, and so there's the panatipata, the refraining from taking of life, refraining from killing. So the way this normally plays out is you get a mosquito lands on you, you don't kill it, just automatically you brush it away. Or we don't, just out of anger or annoyance, engage in any forms of killing. Killing has to be intentional, so if you accidentally kill something, that's not the kama of killing, and that's not a breaking of an offense. You're sweeping, you accidentally kill an ant, there's no intention there. But intentional killing is what we're looking at. So there has to be those factors, there has to be intention, effort, and result for there to be the kama of killing. Then there's the refraining from taking that which is not given. So that's, as an Anagārika, you'll be supporting yourself to a certain extent, but you'll also be supported in terms of, say, food offerings and whatnot that come to the monastery, offered to the Sangha. You end up being a recipient of the extras that are handed down after the bhikkhus and the samaners have taken their share. But then you've kind of got one foot in the monastery, one foot in the world still, so you're able to still use money, you're able to drive, and you'll be serving the Sangha in various ways during this 1-year trial period. And so the Adina Dana, just learning how to be okay with whatever comes your way, not having a seeking mind, but just being okay with whatever is accrued to you. Then that's the refraining from taking things that are not just given to you. And then there's the brahmacharya. This is the thing that defines the holy life, is the celibate life, not engaging in any form of sexual activity. And during these ordinations, I'll normally point out that even though we are just a bunch of guys trying to do our best to practice, we actually do follow in the forest tradition, the Thai forest tradition of Buddhism, and Theravada Buddhism in general, some of the strictest rules of celibacy out of any religion, out of any monastic order in the world. So we're very strict about it, and this is something that defines us as shifting out of that mode of being a layperson and into the mode of being a bhikkhu. And so the Anagārika Ordination, it is the first gate of bhikkhu ordination, the second gate being Samanera, the third gate is the Upasampada, or the bhikkhu ordination. So really learning how to train in this, and then when the strong energies do come up that are natural for the heart, and we learn how to work with them through things like the Asubha practice, and also through things like just using the meditation and finding happiness in ways that are different than the ways that people normally find happiness. And this is, they call the different types of happiness are amisa sukha, which literally means happiness of the flesh. And then there's niramisa sukha, which is spiritual happiness. And the spiritual happiness is much more a true refuge and much more reliable and much more difficult to attain or to obtain. So we have to train in this, and it takes time. But through the keeping the precepts, it does come about eventually. And then there's the musawada, the refraining from lying. This also includes the 4 courses of right speech, which is refraining from lying, refraining from harsh speech. That's parusaya wachaya. Then there's pisunaya wachaya, which is divisive speech. And then there's sambapalapa, which is the idle chatter. So trying your best to refrain from those 4 courses of wrong speech, which are considered not the path of the Buddha, not the Noble Eightfold Path. So to be right speech, those might seem fairly easy, actually, just not lying, no harsh speech, not engaging in divisive speech. But then the idle chatter, sometimes we get tripped up with that one. And actually, idle chatter, it isn't that bad. Like sometimes we might need to, as Ajahn Jeff would say, grease the wheels a little bit. But then if it veers into the unwholesome, then it's something which is not in line with the path. So how often do we get too playful and it ramps up too much, and then somebody gets hurt in the end? And also, like little drops in a bucket, it adds up, and then we end up confused. So those 4 courses of right speech. Then there's the refraining from intoxicants. The way the rule is worded in Pali, it's literally alcohol, which is the main one. But then we include all intoxicants, drugs and alcohol under that. So say things like coffee and tea are allowable in this monastery, but then say smoking marijuana is not allowable. Have to go through the whole list just to make sure. No taking LSD, ecstasy, heroin, DMT, what other drugs are there? Bath salts, mushrooms, no mushrooms, toad venom, no toad venom, or any other of the creative ways people become intoxicated these days. Actually, the toad venom is one that it was bleeding into our Dhamma communities, so it's not a joke, actually. It's pretty basic, and even things like, like I myself drink coffee in the morning, but if you were to start relying on it too much, like if you were to have say 8 cups of coffee a day or something, then that might get toward that edge of Sura Maraya, where you're actually getting intoxicated by it. Or just like, meth, I forgot to mention meth. Not allowable. So any of these drugs or alcohol. And then there's the vikalapojana, eating at the right time, not at the wrong time. That is defined as dawn time, which is we generally define as like you can go outside and look at the lines of your hand. You can see the lines of your hand at your arm's length. So it's before sunrise, but it's when it's starting to get light outside, and that goes till midday. And here in this monastery, we just have a clear cutoff, so it's like 1 p.m. during the summertime when there's daylight savings, and then during the winter time it's noon. So that's considered eating at the right time, not at the wrong time, vikala bhojana. And then there's the 7th precept of refraining from entertainment, beautification, and adornment. And this includes, say, watching shows. In the wording of the 8 precepts, it actually refers to, say, public shows. So, like, there might be some time and place when you end up hearing some music in the monastery, or you end up overhearing something, or there's, that's, it's more around public perception of a religious seeker. So like we wouldn't do something like go to a movie theater, for example. That would be something which is off limits for us. So there's, but also not engaging in, say, watching shows or listening to music in the monastery. And then there's the beautification, which is, using as a young man, like using like very fragrant colognes and things that make the body more alluring and attractive. Then, of course, the tattoos, we're not going to have you remove those, but those cool tattoos, those are fine for now. And the adornments would be, say, piercings, like somebody would have to take them out. If you wore earrings or a nose ring or something like that, you'd have to take those out, but you're already good there. And then the last one is the Ujjasayana Mahasayana, the refraining from lying on a higher luxurious sleeping place. And so this is actually just living simply in the monk's dwelling place, in the kuti. Many of the monks will just sleep on a mat on the ground, yoga mat. Normally the height, you can sleep on a bed, but the legs aren't supposed to be more than 8 finger breadths or 8 inches high. And so it's considered just a low sleeping place. And this is for simplicity. And it's said that, say, a great Tudong monk, if you were to go into their dwelling place, you wouldn't know where they sleep. It wouldn't be that obvious. Like, they don't give a lot of attention to their sleeping place with lots of props and pillows and things. I'm not setting the best example for that right now because I've been dealing with sciatica, but that's on the mend. So now I've been having to use a softer pad and some props, but it's a temporary measure for the sake of illness. And so those 8 precepts, you use those for training, and you make much of them. And if a precept gets broken, then what you can do is let me know, or let one of the other senior monks know as soon as possible, and then you would retake the 8 precepts. So that's the way to do it if one happens to get broken, or even if you have doubt about one, to make it known quickly. That's important. So to be just very transparent, very open with your actions, and also there will be mistakes, and there will be. It's not going to be perfect at first. It'll take some getting used to. There's also going to be many new things for you, like you'll eat out of a bowl now with the Sangha, and learn about how to wash the bowl properly, gaining access to the monk's utility building, and using that as a place for doing personal, looking after your personal needs. And so much more in the fold of the Sangha. You'll have a locker in with the other Anagārikas, novices, young monks. So yeah, it'll be a lot at first, but you'll get used to it. And trying to keep your whites clean, you'll learn how to do laundry better, and bleach, you'll learn how to use bleach. And so yeah, many new trainings, many new things, and various monks might show you how to do things, and just take it as it comes, as a training. So the next part of this ceremony is the formal taking of dependence, and I'll explain a little bit about that after you do that, so you can go ahead and come back onto your haunches, and you don't have to bow again. You can just go into the chant.
Acharyo me bante hohi ayasamato ni sayawachami. Acharyo me bante hohi ayasamato ni sayawachami. Acharyo me bante hohi ayasamato ni sayawachami.
Opaikang,
Satu bante.
pati rupang,
Satu bante.
pasadikena sampadehi.
Satu bante. Ajataketani tero. Ajataketani tero. Maihambaro. Aham pitera saparo. Ajataketani tero. Maihambaro. Aham pitera saparo. Ajataketani tero. Maihambaro. Aham pitera saparo.
You can bow 3 times. And then you can sit comfortably again. Okay, so just to go into the taking of dependence a little bit, some instruction, and this is going to be, you will be tired and frustrated and whatnot at times. This is not that easy of a training, the Anagārika training. And of course you've already been shown how to work in the kitchen and learned how to drive and serve the Sangha in those ways. And one of the reasons Longpo Cha established the Anagārika Ordination as a thing that everybody does before they ordain. So in traditional Buddhism, at a village monastery, you might begin Anagārika for only half a day, and then you go straight to bhikkhu. But Ajahn Chah would say, if you make them wait long, they'll ordain long. Ordain them fast, they disrobe fast. So it's also so that in that position of service, then when you do become a samanera and then a bhikkhu, and you end up being on the receiving end of those offerings, then not to take it for granted, knowing just how much work it goes into just creating food to look after the Sangha, and just what it takes to look after the community in terms of everything possible, medical appointments and so on. So it takes a lot of work, and there will be times when you get tired, exhausted, and that's when the latent defilements will start to come up. If there's times when we're staying up on the lunar observance days, and if the various mental states during the meditation can make us exhausted sometimes, if old memories or just difficult mental states are coming up through the course of our meditation, those are going to be the times when we develop this sense of kanti barami, or patient endurance, they say in Thai, otton. So we do have to develop a large amount of otton in order to live this life, and I'm sure they taught you that word in Thailand already, so otton. And that is what Longpo Cha, he said, when somebody asked him what are the qualities that caused you to succeed as a bhikkhu, he said otton and contemplation of impermanence. So knowing that all these states do pass. So when it's painful, it does pass. When it's pleasant, it also passes. All these states pass and aren't worth clinging to. So we get into the developing the mind like water, where we can actually flow into any situation that arises, and then also that gives rise to the wisdom where we know, when we talk about letting go, it's really a skillful response to any situation. So any situation that arises, that the answer as to the right way forward may not be so clear, but if we develop a mind like water, then the path forward can become more clear, and we can flow into say, creative solutions, and there won't be any situation that can overturn us. There's the mind like stone, the mind like dirt, the mind like water. So the mind like stone is when something unpleasant happens, say you get criticized or something happens which causes dukkha to arise, then the mind like stone is when that creates like a line in stone, and it lasts for a long time, so you're unable to forgive that person, or you're unable to let go of that situation that arose, and it keeps coming up, you keep thinking about it, and keep getting upset about it. That's the mind like stone. The mind like dirt is it's like a line drawn in the dirt, so something unpleasant happens, you get criticized, or something frustrating happens, where like one monk tells you to do it this way, the other monk tells you to do it that way, and but then you're able to let go of it after maybe a period of time. Just like the wind and the rain will eventually erase that line in the dirt, then the mind that's like dirt, it can let go of things given a little bit of time. But then the highest level is the mind like water, so it's like drawing a line in water. It disappears as you're drawing it. So as you're being criticized, as that unpleasantness is happening, the mind is actively not even picking it up, actively letting it go. So that's the way of non-clinging. That's the best if you're able to do that, but it's not easy and only comes with training. So over time, it can become automatic, but with the dependence or the nisaya, it's acknowledging that you're going to need some help, and the sangha will be, really it's not just dependence on me, but it's dependence on the whole community. People are going to be taking you under their wing, and we always, when somebody asks to become an Anagārika, we always discuss it as a community, and everybody has to unanimously accept that we're happy to have you. So we've accepted that you can be here and train here, and that we know it's going to be a bit of a burden for us to, chip off those rough edges that might still be there, and it's also going to be a burden for you to maybe look after different members of the sangha. And so that last phrase of ajattage dani tero, that's now the elder, the venerable one, is my burden, and I am the burden of the venerable one. So there's this mutual give and take where we've accepted that we're going to take you on, look after you, and help train you, guide you, and then you're also going to be burdened in terms of giving service to the community and willingly taking that on as well. So, no need to go on for too long. It's been a very long day. Sadhu, and welcome to the Anagārika training. And you can go ahead and sit in that empty seat over there. And then once you go over there, you can after our closing chant, then you can go and find your new locker. We're going to end with the verses of sharing and aspiration, page 33.
May
austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.
So completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples, who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Puja tomorrow morning, the platform.